What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. But we finally got an instant classic between the Suns and the Clippers in the later night slate on ESPN. Brand new arena for the Clippers, really cool. A lot of fan engagement. That wall of fans that's be on the defensive side of the floor in the second half. That's a really, really cool concept. The display, the circle display that goes around, very, very cool. Kevin Durant shouted out after the game that it was possibly the coolest arena that he's ever played in. Definitely turned out really good on TV too. It was fun to watch, but really an entertaining game. The Clippers were up 99-90 with less than 4 minutes left. We got this really fun little chess match as the Suns go small. They put in Royce O'Neal and take Yusuf Nurkic out. And so it's basically Royce O'Neal, Tyus Jones with the big three, right? And quickly they start matchup hunting on James Harden. Devin Booker ends up hitting a step back three over Harden. It's 99-93. We're going to talk big picture in the game in a minute. I just want to kind of focus on this final run that the Suns used to send the game to OT. James Harden, who was really, really good in the second half and for the most part all game did a nice job creating shots. You could tell he was really tired and it really started to show down the stretch. Settles for like a really deep 35-footer on the next possession, and then they have really bad floor balance. He's the only guy above the break. Norman Powell's kind of on the right wing, but closer to the corner, and both guys get caught in limbo, where when the shot goes up, neither of them crash, but neither of them turn and sprint either. They both just kind of backpedal, and KD just outruns all of them up the right side of the floor, suddenly gets a layup. It's 99-95. Then same sort of thing on the next possession. James Harden is picking on matchups, picks on Tyus Jones, but he gets down in the lane and actually gets a little bit of separation, but he leaves the floater way short off the front of the rim. Once again, because you can tell he's very, very tired. Going down to the other end of the floor, they commit an off-ball foul on Devin Booker. He goes 1 for 2 from the foul line. All of a sudden, it's 99-96. And then one of the big kind of like subplots of the tail end of this game is when the Suns went small, the Clippers did try to do a lot of force feeding of Zubac. And he did draw some fouls. In particular, he ended up fouling Devin Booker out of the game on a foul that I personally disagreed with. I thought Booker was just kind of banging for position. I didn't think he did anything that was deserving of him getting ejected from the game. But that's a whole other side conversation about officiating. And, you know, I kind of have this theory that like a lot of officials, some specific guys from last night haven't ever played in a basketball game. So they don't know what it's like to like, oh, you have a size mismatch and you're battling in the post, and they just kind of lack that basic understanding. And so then they make calls that should not be made in basketball games just because they don't understand. But don't get me started. That's a whole soapbox for another time. So on the next possession, 99-96, they're trying to post up Zubac against Royce O'Neal on the left block. And Amir Coffey is being guarded by Tyus Jones on the left wing. After the post entry, Amir Coffey cuts through. And then Tyus Jones pulls kind of like the Michael Jordan in Game 6 of the 1998 Finals. Like he fakes like he's going to follow the cutter. But then as soon as James Harden throws the post entry pass, he cuts right back out and steals it. They run out the other way and they get another layup. Now it's 99-98. Both teams exchange a couple of offensive fouls. Now we're down to just 2 minutes left, and the Suns make another adjustment. They end up putting Kevin Durant on James Harden. Now, James Harden responds to that by trying to attack Tyus Jones on switches again, but he turns it over. The Suns did a really nice job down the stretch of the game of crowding James Harden when he got into like the short to mid-range. There's a lot of contact that you can get away with in there because there's just not a lot of great sight lines for the officials, right? That was one of the things James Harden on this particular possession complained to the refs after about how he got hit on the arm. And it's like, he probably did, but it's just really hard to see when there's all that congestion in there. They did a great job swarming. They get a stop, go down to the other end of the floor, and then the Suns get a really easy shot for Kevin Durant off of a switch where they have Kevin Durant screen the ball and then slip into open space. Norman Powell ends up on his bottom side, gets right into the lane, and James Harden, just a step slow on his rotation, doesn't quite get outside of the charge circle. KD runs him over, but he gets a layup, and because he's in the charge circle, it's an easy and one. Now we are back to the Suns being in front by 2, 101-99. Now, James Harden once again attacks Tyus Jones on the next possession, gets a really nice look from mid-range, and it's kind of like a weird moment of growth for James Harden over the last couple of years to see how like almost everything for him was a step back three or driving into the lane for maybe a floater, but for the most part, getting into the lane into layup range, right? And like one of the things you'll notice in a game like this is like Yeah, a step back three might be a more efficient shot in the large scale where I've got 100 reps. And yeah, if I make 36 of them, then I'm going to end up with well over a point per attempt, right? But like in the small sample, less than 2 minutes left, you need a bucket. You're down by two. Actually, what matters is a shot with a higher field goal percentage. And he ends up working closer to the rim. And again, those step back threes, when you're trying to get lift and separation from 25 feet from the basket, it's just really hard to do. But instead, he works his way into the lane, gets a nice little foul line jump shot, knocks it down. Easy shot for James Harden, right? Not to mention it's right around the foul line where he's been shooting a lot when he gets to the foul line, on free throw attempts. Ties the game at 101. Next possession for the Suns ends up falling apart just because KD slips. Tries this like crossover move. His foot just kicks way out from under him. It looks like he steps on a banana peel, falls. Grayson Allen ends up having to kind of just chuck something up at the basket and he misses. And then on the next possession, it's 101. James Harden gets KD with the left to right crossover and he kind of buckles over. And then James Harden smartly on that possession, as soon as he sees that KD is compromised, just drives right into his chest. And KD tries to tie up the basketball, but gets a bunch of arm, ends up being a foul. 103-101. Now the Clippers just need one stop, and they're getting out of here with the win. But Kevin Durant ends up hitting a ridiculous right shoulder fadeaway as James Harden tries to double team him from the opposite end of the floor. Falling down, crazy jump shot, knocks it down. We're tied. James Harden actually got a decent look from floater range to try to win it in regulation, but he ends up missing, and we're going to overtime. And from there, KD and Brad Beal really took over. They both ended up drawing fouls on like mid-range jump shot attempts. Bradley Beal hit a really nice three against drop coverage. He was great all night, but he really stepped up after Devin Booker went out and just tried to create offense wherever he could. And I thought he did a really nice job. Clippers stayed in it because they got some big stops late in the game and then a couple of big buckets. Derrick Jones Jr. had a really nice driving layup in transition. Norman Powell had a little bucket against Bradley Beal in an ISO situation. So they kind of stayed in it. James Harden ends up drawing a foul with 5 seconds left. On that was kind of an iffy call too, as he got into the lane, but he ends up drawing the foul, goes to the line, ends up going 1 for 2. Once again, a sign of fatigue, and the Suns get out of there with a win. For the Suns, the offense functioned when it needed to. They actually only had a 102.7 offensive rating for the game as a whole. But the Clippers are scrappy. I've been talking about this. I've been talking about this a lot in preseason and even just going into our season previews. You got to see last night why I was so high on the Clippers in the world where Kawhi was healthy. They're just so damn fast on the perimeter. They have so much length. They get into the ball. They pressure. They're physical. They're just a really difficult team to deal with on the defensive end of the floor. James Harden brings such a high offensive floor. It just kind of came apart as James Harden fatigued at the end of the game. But you can imagine a universe where Kawhi's in there and it just kind of eases off that offensive burden. And we're talking about a really good basketball team here. But they did a good job on the Suns, held them to 102.7 for the game. However, I thought the offense functioned when it needed to. They had several really good possessions throughout the game where they created initial advantage, made good reads, and got great shots out of it. I grabbed a bunch of those and put them in the Timpf's tape segment. So when we get to the film at the end, you guys will get to see some examples of good Suns offense. They had a 66% assist percentage. Remember, that's the benchmark for me that I've been talking about all summer. Anything over 2/3 for me, an assist percentage for the Suns is a good offensive performance from them. It means they're turning more good shots into great shots by trusting each other in kick out situations. Got a lot of 3-point attempts up. I thought it was a better shot profile for them. And then in 8 minutes of clutch basketball, a 117 offensive rating. So once again, when they needed to, it came through. They generated some easy shots through smart transition pushes, capitalizing on their defense. Again, that's smart. Don't fuck around in the half court if you don't have to. Get up the floor and see if you can get easy shots. That KD and one that he had, very simple action, taking advantage of a switch where he got inside position and was able to get into the lane and get there before James Harden could rotate. Some gamesmanship. Both KD and Bradley Beal drew fouls on mid-range pull-ups, taking advantage of over-aggressive defenders. And then superstars making superstar shots. Like KD hitting a shot over a double team, there's not really anything you can do about that except for lose. Like that's just what you're up against when you get into a matchup with the Suns. If you end up in a late game where it's a 1 or 2 possession game, you might play great defense and they might just make shots and you might just get to lose. Bradley Beal in overtime, that was a big time shot. That shot that he hit out of drop coverage as Zubac kind of hung back to the elbow and he knocked it down. Those are superstar shots. And that's how you end up just generating offense in transition when it's smart, a couple of easy baskets out of some smart action, and then superstars making superstar shots. All of a sudden, you have a 117 offensive rating when the game was really up for grabs there in clutch time. I thought the Suns defended really well. Tyus Jones held up well when Harden was nonstop attacking him down the stretch of the game. He also had that huge steal on the post up of Zubac. They did a good job of crowding Harden in ball screens, like I talked about earlier, forcing turnovers. And then KD, just what a weapon to be able to take one of your backline defenders and put him on the other team's best player at the end of a game. Obviously, he got some switches onto Tyus, but Tyus held up fine anyway. But also, there were several drives on that in that final sequence in crunch time where James Harden tried to probe into the lane against KD, and KD just shut him off, and James ended up having to pass out the basketball. And so, really nice defensive performance from KD. And then when they went small, I thought all of their guys as a team did a nice job holding up against Zubac in the post. And again, aside from a couple of those foul calls that I disagreed with, I thought they did a pretty good job avoiding taking too much damage in those situations. Biggest areas of opportunity for the Suns through the first game, limiting turnovers. They had 22 turnovers tonight, led to 16 points for the Clippers. KD in particular struggled to take care of the basketball. And then rebounding. The Clippers had 13 offensive rebounds for 13 second chance points. But some of that is just the reality of going small. You're going to give up some more offensive rebounds, but you're going to have more advantages in transition, right? So like they got transition buckets where they were outrunning Zubac. But then there were also possessions where they gave up offensive rebounds. So again, sometimes it's more complicated than just looking at one statistical category. But I thought it was impressive resilience. Like a win is a win is a win. Not all basketball games are the same. Most teams are going to have to win ugly against the Clippers because of how good they are on the perimeter defensively. And specifically from a matchup perspective, they match up well with the Suns because they have a lot of perimeter talent and they have guys that can match up with them, right? On the Clippers front, you guys got a really good look at why I'm so high on the Clippers as a team that can just be scrappy in the regular season as long as Kawhi Leonard is healthy. The defense is filthy. Harden just gives you such a high floor in offense. He generated 32 points last night out of ball screens and ISOs. Struggled at the rim. Otherwise, he would have had a great night. I think he was like 2 for 9 at the rim. But they just ran out of gas at the end of the game. And that's the reality. Like Powell and Harden were both leaving shots short off the front of the rim. Harden in particular just looked completely wiped out by the end of the game. It's just such a heavy offensive load on him this year. If Kawhi was out there, they have more juice on offense. They look like more of a, kind of classic good NBA team at that point. But alas, Kawhi was not out there. And who knows when he will be. And so they're just scrappy at this point. And I still think they'll beat you if you don't bring your best. But without Kawhi, it's just going to be a consistent problem for them offensively at the end of games as they start to wear down.